so that we can post this on our website for people that were not able to attend tonight. And I am gonna just turn off my video as I go through the presentation. Um, so we'll get started here. Um, so as I mentioned, this is one of five public meetings that we're holding, and each of the meetings will go over the same presentation. So you're welcome to attend other meetings, but each meeting will have the same presentation. And like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit first about the role of the Windham Regional Commission and the role of the regional plan, just because some might be more familiar with our work and the regional plan than others. And then we can get into the actual update process that we've been going through. So to provide background on the Windham Regional Commission, so we are one of 11 regional planning commissions in the state of Vermont, and the graphic here just shows where different RPCs are located in our state. We work with 27 towns, mostly in Windham County, but also towns in Bennington and Windsor County. And our area, excuse me, covers 922 square miles in southeast Vermont. Um, One of our primary functions is assisting towns to provide local effective governance. So that includes town planning work, technical assistance with zoning and subdivision bylaws, working with town staff and volunteer committees and commissions, and grant assistance and management. We also work with our towns to address regional issues that cross municipal boundaries. So there are many examples of those regional issues, but those include housing, emergency management, flood resiliency planning, water quality, and transportation. We also manage a brownfields program with funding from the EPA to help redevelopment of blighted properties as well. And in Vermont, where we don't have county government, the regional planning commissions provide a very important role just in our government structure. So we provide an important link between municipal governments, the state government, and federal government. So we're working with municipalities, but then also working upwards with the state and federal government. And this map just shows you those 27 towns that are within our Windham region. So our region covers the area from the Massachusetts border up to Rockingham and Weston in the northern part of our region. And then we span from the Connecticut River to the Green Mountains on the western part of our region. So, what does the Windham Regional Plan address? So this slide covers some of the main topics that are included in the regional plan. So that includes land use, transportation, energy, community facilities and utilities, natural resources, scenic and historic resources, housing, economic development, and flood resilience. And there are state requirements and state law in terms of what needs to be covered in our regional plan. And it's very similar to those that work with local planning commissions. It's similar to what is required for your town plan, what needs to be included in your town plan. The regional plan also needs to address statewide planning goals, and the policies within our regional plan need to further those statewide planning goals. And those include goals around compact settlement patterns, protecting Vermont's rural countryside, and promoting smart growth generally. And similarly, town plans also need to address those same statewide planning goals. So the policies and goals within our regional plan have a lot of similarities with what you would see in a town plan, but we're thinking more at the regional level versus the municipal level. So what role does the regional plan play for the Windham region? So it includes data on current conditions for the region. So it looks at changes in population, housing, and economic characteristics. It's looking at those trends across the entire region. We collect that data for each town within our region and then combine it all together to get a picture of the whole region. The plan provides guidance for orderly development patterns in our region. It establishes the policy basis for Windham Regional Commission's actions, positions, and work program priorities. So it really helps uh, establish our annual work plan that we work on each year. Importantly, towns in our region can use our regional plan as a guide for local planning efforts. Like I mentioned, the town plan needs to include many of the same topics that the regional plan does. So there's an opportunity for towns to look to the regional plan as a resource for their own town plans, and also consider policy language that we have in our regional plan, how that could be used in local town plans. The regional plan is a policy basis for our engagement and review of development proposals that require state permits. So that includes Act 250, which are land use permits, Section 248, which are for energy generation and transmission projects, and then Section 248A, which is for telecommunication projects. So the policies within our regional plan are referred to in those state application review, those different projects that require state development review. It's important to note that the regional plan is advisory only. So WRC, we have no permitting or regulatory authority. So unlike a town that would use their town plan as a basis for zoning and subdivision bylaws, we don't have any county level zoning in Vermont. So the plan is not a basis for permitting or regulatory purposes. We also, unlike other counties in the country, counties in Vermont don't own or manage any community facilities or infrastructure. We don't have a county road network, anything like that. So the regional plan is important to note. It is a advisory document, so it's not regulatory. So to give you a sense of the update process we've been going through, so the last regional plan update was completed in 2014. Similar to town plans, regional plans need to be updated every 8 years. Our plan was readopted in June of 2021 to provide us more time to go through this current update process to do a more complete update of our plan. So we formally started this update process in the fall of 2022, and then worked with committees at the Windham Regional Commission. And we have committees that focus on different topic areas. So we have transportation, energy, community development, committees that helped review each of the chapters within the plan, and worked with staff to make updates to those different sections of the plan. And that work took place over about a year and a half from the winter of 2023 through summer of 2024. We've been assembling this first draft of the plan, working on that last fall, preparing for public meetings, which are happening this winter. Following our public meetings in February, based on public comments and comments from commissioners, we'll be working on making final updates to the plan in the spring. And then our hope is to hold the required public hearings and to adopt the regional plan by this summer. So this is one opportunity for public input on the draft plan, but there will be another opportunity when we hold those public hearings. So that's provide some context, kind of who we are and what the regional plan is. And then the next few slides, I'm going to go over just some of the highlights from our regional plan update. It's very difficult to present an entire planning document. The regional plan has hundreds of pages worth of content. And many policies, and we're not able to present the entirety of the plan. So I'll go over some of the highlights, and then we'll let you know how to review the plan and provide comments on it. So I do recommend that if you're interested to take time to review the plan and provide comments if you have any. So I'll talk about highlights from kind of a policy perspective, but then also some highlights too in terms of the format of the plan as well. So the first few slides talk about more policy priorities. We focused with this plan update on strengthening our policies that help our region achieve those compact settlement patterns. So policies that support our existing villages and downtown centers and policies that support the continued type of development pattern. Also creating conditions for additional housing, in particular within those compact settlement areas, given how serious of a housing crisis that we face as a region as well as a state. There's more discussion in the plan about the importance of infrastructure to support commercial and residential development in our villages and downtowns. That's something that there's been growing awareness that one of the limiting factors for additional housing development and to support existing businesses and new businesses in many of our rural communities is the lack of infrastructure, in particular wastewater and water infrastructure, and just the necessity of that infrastructure for development, for residential development, and for business purposes. So there was a focus in the regional plan update of focusing on the need for that type of infrastructure and including policy language to support the development of that type of infrastructure. Another type of infrastructure that's really needed to support that type of development is our complete streets policies. So that's approaching transportation planning for all users, so pedestrians, bicyclists, vehicles, making sure that our centers are welcoming and supportive of those different modes of transportation to support vital communities. We wanted to provide more ideas for how towns can implement some of these policies through zoning and infrastructure investments and other efforts. So there's more information in the regional plan about recommendations for towns to implement this at the local level, because this effort is a collaborative effort between Regional Planning Commission, what we are able to do, and then at the town level, much of the regional plan is updated by our municipalities at the local level. So we wanted to include more strategies for implementation for towns. And then also recognizing the need for addressing some of these issues, in particular housing goals from a regional perspective, just because we do have some areas in the region that are going to be able to accommodate more housing than others due to any number of considerations, the availability of infrastructure, availability of land that's suitable for development, And just that the housing problem cannot be solved just at a town by town level, but we do need to think about that um, from the regional level as well. Another major goal and emphasis with the plan update was around climate resilience, just recognizing the growing need to plan and design resilient communities in our region that can adapt to the changing climate. So I think as everyone has experienced in recent years, we have seen increased flood
I'm sorry for
frequency
feeling giggles.
um, and intensity in towns in our region. And this was a topic that was really a cross-cutting issue. So um, it's addressed specifically in the flood resilience section of the plan, but it's an issue that we addressed throughout the plan. So in particular, in thinking about regional land use planning, transportation, natural resources, and energy, all those sections included more information and policies about how to plan around this issue of climate resilience. So in terms of land use, where are we planning for growth and expansion outside of areas that are at risk for flooding? Uh, Transportation, we need to think more about um, our roads and infrastructure to make sure that they are resilient to these more intense flood events. So the need for infrastructure is changing as the weather changes, weather patterns change. For natural resources, recognizing the importance of natural areas that provide for flood control. And in terms of energy, just planning for more energy resilience, just with the increased severe weather events, needing to be more prepared for having an energy resilient system. And the plan also talks about just the importance of flood resiliency projects from a regional perspective. So projects that are done in one community impact another community downstream. So how do we think about climate resilience and flood resilience from a regional perspective as well? And then I think the third kind of prong of the or third emphasis for the regional plan update was in tandem with um, supporting development within our compact settlement areas, our town and village centers. How do we also protect the large forest blocks and habitat connectors and agricultural land that surrounds those village centers? Um, and to make sure that we're um, not encouraging growth in those areas. So from a regional perspective in the plan, it looks at how forest blocks and habitat connectors within individual towns connect to one another and to areas outside of our region and our state. Um, and the regional plan provides perspective on how maintaining those forest blocks within individual towns is important for for that community, but also important for maintaining these larger connections that go beyond an individual town. So the graphic on the slide here is just showing one example of an important forest block connection represented by the red line, which is showing that forest block that spans from Marlborough, Halifax, Guildford, Newfane, Dover, and Wardsboro. That's connecting the Green Mountain National Forest in the western part of our region to forest areas in western Massachusetts. So those towns in our region are playing a critical role in protecting those forest block areas to provide that connection between Green Mountain National Forest and the Berkshires in western Massachusetts. So this is just one area where the regional plan can provide that perspective of how actions at the local level come together to create um, larger benefits at the regional level. Um, and finally, for kind of more significant updates to um, the plan does make changes to respond to changing demographics that we see in our region. So our population in the Windham region is growing older and more diverse, just in terms of age of our population. In 2010, 16% of our population was age 65 or older, and that's grown to 24% as of 2020. And so how do we plan for housing, public facilities, transportation, and services in response to these changing demographics to make sure that the planning that we're doing is serving our existing populations, but also populations that are changing with different needs. And so the plan addresses those changing demographics as well. So those are some of the more kind of policy level changes, or not necessarily changes, but focuses of the plan. A lot of these issues are addressed in the current 2014 regional plan, but some of these issues have become or were more highlighted with the current update. And so the next couple slides, I'm going to talk more about just general approaches and formatting for the plan. So we did have an overarching goal that we wanted to create a plan that was more accessible and useful for our member towns in the region, and wanted to include more discussion on issues and challenges that we know towns in our region are dealing with, um, and provide examples of best practices and implementation tools for towns so that the regional plan uh, can be more of a resource for member towns. Um, and we also wanted to develop a stronger implementation plan for ourselves for Windham Regional to carry out the goals and policies in the plan. And so the goal behind this was to um, better show how we carry out our goals and policies, and to make it clear to members of the public the work that we do, and um, and the work that we do, so people that understand kind of what regional planning commissions can work on, and what implementation strategies are more done at the local level. Another goal was to consolidate our separate regional plans into one plan. So previously, the Windham Regional Plan and the Windham Region Transportation Plan were adopted as separate documents. Windham Regional also adopted a enhanced energy plan in 2018. And with this update process, we are integrating those three plans into one plan. Um, we still retain policies and goals from the three separate plans, but by integrating them, we're able to reduce a lot of the background content that was needed for each plan as a standalone plan. And it just makes it easier to navigate and find the information someone might be looking for if all that is contained in one plan as compared to three separate planning documents. And a final major change was to move the regional plan to a web-based format. So we hired a consultant based in Waterbury, Vermont, Edgeworks Creative, to design and develop a website that will host the regional plan. Um, and we've been working with them throughout the process from the beginning of starting the regional plan update. So the goal behind moving to a web-based format was to make our regional plan more approachable and useful. Um, it allows a user to easily search the plan for specific information. Um, there will also be the ability to download or print sections from this web-based plan. Um, and the idea is to just make the regional plan more accessible and something that's easier for members of the public and towns to go to as a tool. And we believed that the web-based format would help facilitate that um, versus a printed document. And I'm gonna just stop sharing for a second and pull up the website just to briefly show you a couple pages on the site. Um, and hopefully I can do this here. Okay, so you should now be seeing the web-based plan. And this is, let me just resize this here.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, just to make sure it fits on the screen. So this is, and this plan is now, it's draft, it's the website is in draft form. This is our regional plan, but the website itself is in draft form. But you can view it by going to our website, which I'll share the link to our website at the end of the presentation. Um, Members of the public can now view this draft web-based plan from our website. So I would encourage you to take time to look at it, just to walk you briefly through how it's set up. So this is the welcome page. Um, it's divided up. You'll see we have an introduction center section, which provides information similar to what I've gone over at the beginning of the presentation about Windham Regional Commission and the purpose of the plan. It also includes our broad vision for the Windham region and our regional goals. And then each plan area is provided for here. So I'll go to natural resources, just for example, and there's background information about the natural resources section to provide context. And then a user could go and click on surface waters, for example, and find additional information about surface waters in particular. We also have the regional plan maps. So these are PDF documents of all the regional plan maps. These are also linked to within the different sections of the plan. We also have for our future land use map, we've set up a online interactive map, which I would encourage you to take time to look at this. This is our current future land use districts from the regional plan. But here it's a online map where a user can zoom in to different sections of the region to see those future land use areas, which are identified on the left-hand side of the screen here. And then the policies. So the policies, as I mentioned, the policies are very important just in guiding our work at Windham Regional Commission. And then those policies are also very important for Section 250 and 248A reviews. So these policies are reviewed by our project review committee for those applications. So the policies are all listed here based on the different plan areas. You can also get to the policies from the plan areas themselves. Um, and then the policies are listed out for those different plan areas. So all included in one location. And then finally, I'll just mention with the implementation section, as I mentioned, we did want to put more emphasis on the um, importance of implementation and providing information to members of the public on how the regional plan gets implemented. So this provides information about how the regional plan is put into action. We also have an implementation matrix. So this identifies more concrete action steps that Windham Regional Commission can take to implement the regional plan. And these are also divided up based on the different plan areas. So just going to land use here, listing out action steps, kind of who is the lead for that, priority, and potential funding sources. And so that's provided for each of the different plan topic areas. So there's a lot more to look at on the website. And I don't want to take too much time navigating through the website, but I did want to show the website and kind of give you a general sense of how it's set up. And again, it's available for view on our website. So I would encourage you to take time to look at that. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation, and I just have a couple more slides at this point. Let's see. So in terms of how to provide comments, if you have any comments on the draft regional plan, as I mentioned, you can review the web-based plan by going to our website, www.windhamregional.org, and you'll be able to access the draft web-based plan. You can provide, if you have questions or comments, you can provide those to me. And my contact information is here. It's also on our website. So feel free to provide any comments to me. We're asking for comments by March 7th, so we can begin reviewing those with our commissioners and make any changes based on public comments. And I think with that, I think that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to, I'll turn back on my video. I'm happy to respond to any questions or go back to any slides that I covered.
Matt, there's one question in the chat here. John asks, how important is it for towns to align their zoning and subdivision bylaws with the regional plan?
Yeah, good question, John. So our regional plan is addressing the same statewide planning goals that your town plan would be addressing. And your town plan needs to be consistent with your municipal zoning and subdivision bylaws. In terms of the consistency of your zoning and subdivision bylaws with the regional plan, we don't look at that. There is a process for if a town wishes to receive regional planning commission approval of their town plan. We do review town plans for consistency with our regional plan, but we're only reviewing and approving town plans. So the zoning and subdivision really needs to be consistent with your town plan. The regional plan is very high level, so we do have future land use districts included in the regional plan, and we have policy recommendations for those different future land use districts and the types of development and intensity of development. But those are again, they're just it's advisory and they're meant to be more general land use districts. So we're not at the regional level, we're not getting down to the level of detail you would be getting to with your zoning bylaws and creating a zoning map because we don't have that regulatory authority. So I'm not sure. I hope that answered your question. It's kind of roundabout answer, um, but John, please let me know if you have a follow-up question on that.
Hey Matt, you might want to go ahead and just drop the slide too. Just
Oh, sure. Yeah,
there you go.
let's see.
So he
So
he did have a follow-up question. If a town does not have zoning or subdivision bylaws, is the regional plan instructive?
So yeah, if your town does not have zoning or subdivision bylaws, then and if you have a town plan, your town plan would be referred to and have standing in an Act 250 or Section 248 process. And again, if the town is looking for approval from Windham Regional Commission for their town plan, we would just be verifying there's consistency between your town plan and the regional plan. And again, generally because the regional plan and the town plan need to provide for the same plan elements and address the same statewide planning goals. There is generally, we find consistency between our regional plan and the town plans. And when it comes to our regional future land use map, we're looking for general consistency between our regional future land use map and what a town might develop for its own town future land use map. Um, Again, because we're working on such a broad regional level, um, you know, if I'm just thinking if there was a town that was proposing uh, a large scale commercial development in an area that the regional plan identified as critical natural resources, that would be an issue and a conflict between the regional plan and the town plan. But um, generally we're not looking at the parcel by parcel level um, at the regional plan as compared to a town plan. But I think,
And Matt,
yeah.
oh,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to add too that yeah, and typically right when we develop the regional plan, we're looking at town plans and right and as we towns ask us to approve their plans, there's like always ongoing throughout our over the years, we're always kind of checking in with towns, looking for agreement not only with the regional plan but also adjoining town plans.
Yep.
Making sure there's no conflicts there. But so oftentimes the chances of there being a major discrepancy are very low. But one kind of this is a little bit of esoteric. Most towns haven't thought about doing this, but statute does have a provision whereby a town can adopt the regional plan as its town plan. I'm not in my 15-year tenure that's never been done. But just letting you, but just in the interest of full disclosure, if a town wanted to, you had to use the regional plan as its town plan, there's a process by which that could happen.
Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. And for this regional plan update, generally the regional future land use map is generally very much the same as the what was in our 2014 plan, but we did go through a process where we looked at data from every town that has a town plan, looking at their future land use districts as that compared to our regional land use map and made some corrections where a town plan had made changes since we last did our regional plan. So the regional plan does respond to a lot of it is based on what towns have already developed for their own town plans when it comes to our future land use mapping. Looks like Patty has a question. With the state issuing regional housing targets, do you anticipate housing targets reaching a more local level? Yes, so that's a good question, Patty. So the state has recently issued housing targets for every region in the state. And so RPCs will be required to take those housing targets, which are provided at the regional level, and come up with a process for assigning housing targets at the municipal level. And so as I mentioned, we started our regional plan update back in 2022. As some of you may know, there were some major reforms to Act 250 and regional planning in Act 181, which was passed in June of 2024. And Act 181 will require that we make amendments to our regional plan to meet those requirements by December of 2026. Because we were so far along in this regional plan update process, we wanted to complete this current update, knowing that it's going to take us some time to work with towns to address the Act 181 requirements. So once we complete this update, and as I mentioned, we're aiming to adopt it this summer. Next fall, we're going to be working with towns in our region to address the Act 181 changes in terms of regional planning requirements and changes in Act 250. And Patty, to your question, in that process, we're also going to be working with towns on assigning those housing target levels. But we are going to be in the process of developing a methodology for how those housing targets are assigned at the local level. And just from internal discussions, a main concern for us is just the capacity of towns to be able to support that housing. As I mentioned earlier, from an infrastructure perspective, many of our towns do not have the infrastructure to support significant housing development. So that's something we'll be looking at. So definitely more to come on the housing target question once we get through this current update process.
And just as a reality check too, just because we as a regional planning commission, we develop a methodology, we reach out to towns and work with like setting these targets. They're purely aspirational. They're really like, hey, study says that this is how much housing need exists by a certain date. And we'll look at, big part of like what I've talked to staff about is, really basing this in reality, like where does the infrastructure actually exist to support additional housing? And, importantly to me too, is like, and does that infrastructure exist in a place where it's not likely to flood? Or there aren't other hazards that are presented? Because in some cases where the infrastructure exists, it may be in a floodplain, or a high risk fluvial erosion area. So when we do that targeted distribution, it really is just kind of like a purely hypothetical. We can't make a town do a thing with regard to housing. It's literally a hypothetical target. And so as far as like, does it mean more housing gets built in your town? No, absolutely not. That is still totally within the town's control. And critically, it's within the town's infrastructure investment control. Because we're going to just have to see more investment in the water, wastewater, sidewalks, other things to actually support housing in sheer numbers that are needed to actually accommodate the populations we have now, really, without even factoring in people moving in. So just want to kind of provide that context for these targets so that people understand what they really mean. I'm a little afraid that the legislature kind of oversold what it meant. And I'm not bashing the legislature at all, but it's literally kind of a hypothetical exercise.
The
Nothing else in the chat yet.
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone has a question they want to just feel free to unmute yourself too if you want to ask a question. That's fine as well.
And if you think of something later, you can always reach out to any of us. Matt's the primary point of contact. You can always reach out to any of us if something comes up later.
I actually have a question. Hi.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. Is the digital version of the plan, is it live to already view or like to go through it? Like, is there a link that you can share?
Yes, it is live, and the link is on our website. So that is live for the public too. I know we had an earlier draft version that we were just reviewing with our commissioners, but now it is live for members of the public.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Cheryl, if you visit that, I'd be curious if you don't want to just flip us an email to say as you know, typically, right? The way we develop a plan is we think of it as a printed document, save it as a PDF, and then that becomes like this awkward digital format. But we decided to actually, we're kind of leading the charge among the other RPCs. There are a lot of others in our wake, so they may do a better job than we do. Matt's done a fantastic job leading the effort, but if you want to take a look, because the idea, right, is most people when they use a plan, they don't read it like a book, right? You're looking for something specific. And so we're specifically trying to design it to be much more user friendly than like a typical PDF or just a static document. And also we may be able to update it not in term more easily, not in terms of like substantive policy, but like graphics and links and data and other things. We'll be able to kind of refresh that on a more regular basis, and that way we'd be able to kind of say, hey, we've got new census data, or here are new census products, and be able to more easily add that to it as reference. So if you have any if you wade into it and take a look, we'd be great to get your thoughts on not only the content of what's in it, but just the usability of it. It'd be great.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I just add just with the web-based format too, I think it is a new approach. And so I think, I know for myself, I'm excited and curious to see as we start using it, I'm sure we'll get some new ideas for ways to improve upon it. And so that's something, yeah, if anyone has any comments and feedback on after looking at it, we'd welcome it because there aren't many places doing it. So it's kind of a new, exciting approach that we'll be learning from too as we work with the plan.
But in Vermont, I think Rutland is doing it now. Chittenden County is looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember others who are also looking at doing a digital base. So we're leading
Yeah.
the charge.
Yeah,
Boldly going.
always exciting
Where a few regional plans have gone before.
to be the first.
Yeah, Two Rivers is also doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like most RPCs and any update going forward would probably go the digital route.
Well, if there aren't any more questions, I'm happy to hang out for a few more minutes. But thank you all for joining us this evening. Like I said, I recorded this meeting, so I will post it on our website and post the slides as well in the next couple days. But if you know anyone that's interested in learning more about the Windham Regional Plan, you can direct them to the website. We also have information we have a few additional in-person meetings in the next couple of weeks. So if anyone wants to attend those meetings, like I said, it'll be the same presentation. So if you attended this evening, you're welcome to come, but we will be going over the same slides. But if you know of anyone that is interested, please just direct them to our website.
Thanks, Matt. That was great.
Oh, hey, Jessica.
Thanks
Thank
all of
you.
you for your time. Really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. Great job.
Thank you.
See you in Londonderry tomorrow.
Yep, I'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks,
Night, Matt.
Alyssa.
Yeah, thank you. Good job.